Welcome to another DK Custom Products video. I'm Dwayne and this is Devin, and today we're going to introduce you to a brand new product.
And we're probably going to end up in the weeds.
Yeah. Like Kevin always says,
we don't put anything on our website up for sale that we won't run on our own bike.
Right. And what we have for you is an oil filter, a permanent oil filter. And you guys know we've always preferred the billet aluminum permanent oil filters. And today we're going to discuss the various reasons why and why this is the latest and greatest in oil filtration for your Harley Davidson.
So what we have here is the oil filter by JAGG. It's their HyperFlow oil filter, permanent oil filter, of course. And they're world renowned for oil flow, oil cooling, and all things oil related, basically.
That's right.
So it's much like all the other permanent oil filters out there. It's got a little ring that comes apart. You take it apart, you can clean it. It has a huge magnet in the back, spring loaded, just like all the others. And
you know what, Devin? Before we get into the details, before we get into the nuts and bolts of how great and all the features of this oil filter, let's discuss something. Because every time we talk about billet aluminum permanent oil filters, the comments always gravitate towards it's a really well done video out there, done by Fort9. I love his content. He's very knowledgeable, and this is probably the only thing I've ever disagreed with him on. And what I'm talking about is he made a video comparing the paper disposable filters, also a fiberglass filter, and the billet aluminum filters, the permanent filters with the stainless mesh filtration media. And there was a few things that aren't relevant to a Harley. For one, he didn't test bypass filters. The filter he was testing had no bypass in it. Your filter, if you're watching this video right now and you have a Harley Davidson, it has a bypass. And what happens with that bypass is when that filter becomes clogged, or at high RPMs, or at cold startups, you're getting zero filtration because that filter goes into bypass. And I got a little animation on the screen right now showing you how that works and what that means. And to me, there's no world where zero filtration is better than any level of filtration from any other filter. So just get that out of the way. That test was not done under the conditions your Harley Davidson is going to put your oil through. Not to mention the life of the oil filter.
Yeah, so he did really good on that video, and that's a very creative way to do that and very thorough. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to test every situation for every engine out there. Harleys are very specific in how they operate and what's going on with them in particular. Mm-hmm. So yes, I tend to agree, with you that I would rather have a 30-35 micron filter that I'm for sure is going to catch, anything bigger than that. Or I could, hope that 5 micron part goes through the section of the filter that actually filters at 5 microns, because they're so variable. The paper filters, yes, they say they filter 5 microns. Well, that's an average. They actually filter from like 0.2 microns to 100. Right. And so it's just what part, where is that piece of debris going? Is it going to hit the right part of the filter or not?
That's right. That's right. And then that's when it's a fresh filter. That's my biggest thing about the disposable filters. Yeah, they're great and they do their job when they are new. But you got to think, man, you're going to have that filter on that bike for 5,000 miles in oil that sees temps well exceeding 230 degrees. It's a dry sump engine, so there's a lot of sediment and debris that stay in the belly of the engine when you do an oil change. And then you never get all that oil out. You got all that residual oil left behind. And then now it's pumping through that paper filter. And again, it's fine at first. We're not saying it doesn't do its job at first or even at 5,000 miles. But how well is it filtering at 3, 4, 5,000 miles?
Yeah, that would be a good test. So maybe you can actually go back and do that. And I'd like to see that. You never know till you actually do the information. But we talk about Harleys, we're always talking about heat because that's such a problem for them. But actually, when we talk about filters, I want to talk about cold for a minute.
Sure.
So one of the big things that I like about these is they don't have a lot of back pressure. It kind of even frees up engine horsepower. Mm-hmm. It isn't having to try as hard to push that oil through it, because it's a 30 micron across the board filter. Well, when your motor is cold, you got that 20W50, it's 30 degrees outside, and you think your battery's dead when it's really just trying to push that oil through that filter. You got less back pressure on this. And then when you're doing that, and trying to do that, you're actually hitting the oil filter bypass in those situations because it can't push that oil through that paper filter.
Yeah.
Where it will still be able to filter the oil through this. This
that's
permanent
right.
filter.
Now we're talking about oil pressure. We're talking about bypass. We're talking about relief. We're talking about scavenging. You guys with the early model Milwaukee 8s, pay close attention because you had very suspect oil pumps. So anything you can do to help that oil pump do its job, you're doing yourself a favor. It's, again, especially with those early model M8s with those very suspect oil pumps.
So now that we went through the weeds and we're out the other side of that, do we want to talk about the differences in the one that we've been carrying for 15 years and this one that we're starting to carry?
Yeah, because I'm sure there's people watching and like, hey man, for the past 10 years, you told me how great this filter is. Now you're telling me how great this one is. So what's the deal? Which one's better?
Well, in my opinion, the flow oil filter we've been carrying is a good enough filter. Like, I mean, I've run that personally on my bike. I bought my 2014 brand new, 16 years ago. And that's what it's had on it since the first oil change.
Right.
The flow filter. Mm-hmm. We like JAGG. We've been partners with them for a long time, resell their oil coolers and all of that. And I just got one of theirs because I wanted to see what the differences were.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, the flow is fine, but what makes this one different? And I can show some of the differences in that. So we'll just show taking both of them apart first. This one comes apart just like that. It's got a spring inside of it. This one, slightly different. It's two-piece with the spring inside of it. But look at the difference in the pleats. How many pleats there are. I haven't actually counted them, but you can just look and see the difference. The more pleats, the more surface area, the more debris and everything that it'll actually catch before going into a bypass mode. So that's the surface area of the filter material is greater on this. Now, that being said, I've run these for 15 years and I've never had them almost stopped up. So there's enough to get the job done on this. But if there's a catastrophic event in the engine, this one will catch more debris before clogging up and bypassing. So that's one big difference. And now we've got the magnet. The magnet on the flow is there and it does the job. I've gotten like little small debris off this every time I've changed my oil. Now this one has a lot bigger one and we can show the differences in that. I brought a actual unpowder coated lift kit here that, I mean, there's some weight to this thing. That's a solid 3/8 inch piece of steel. And as you can see, this one, it's a magnet. It magnets. But this one, that is a magnet. So this one gets the job done, but this magnet is just stronger. This has an adequate amount of surface area. This has way more. And because of it having more surface area, as it gets clogged up, it's not going to have that back pressure on the engine that increases over time. This one, the back pressure, if it were to start getting clogged up, the amount of back pressure that the engine is going to see trying to push that oil through the filter is going to climb faster on this one. This one just has more capacity. So that's the biggest differences in the two oil filters. So, I mean, I really like this one. I've run it for 15 years. I've never had any issues. But this one just, it's just superior in many different ways. Now, that being said, this filter looks a little bit plainer. It's a round filter. It looks like just a standard, everyday throwaway filter, even though it's not. This one has a little bit more, has some fins built into it, and it looks a little bit more sleek, in my opinion. But, I mean, especially if it's in a factory location, you're not really going to see it. You want it to disappear anyway. But, that's just personal preference. You got the looks. This one looks a little bit better, has a little bit, less surface area, a little smaller of a magnet. This one looks more like a conventional one and has, the additional surface area and the big magnet. Now, also in this, the JAGG does use a quad ring, which is just a premium square style O-ring. It's called an X ring or a quad ring. Two different names for them depending on what brand. And they both come with an extra O-ring. And the flow just has a standard. Nothing wrong with that. That's just a little nice touch. That's just I buy a bunch of O-rings for other applications, and these cost a little bit more and are supposed to seal better. Never had a problem with these, so I can't say that's actually necessary. It's just I'm showing the differences in the filter. With that said, we advertise that they'll last at least 5 oil changes, but on my 2014, that's been, you know, the flow filter that's been on my bike since 2014 has the same O-ring in it. And I know I've changed it more than 10 times. You know, it's 15 years old. I mean, I always change my oil at least once a year, even if I'm not riding. So it's got at least at minimum 15 oil changes on it. But I mean, in years when I'm dynoing the bike and riding a lot, I mean, I'm changing the oil 2 and 3 times a year. So I wouldn't be surprised if it had 30 oil changes on it, honestly. And it's just still the same O-ring that it came with.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. And that's the life of these filters. You know, we've had people saying in comments in previous videos before, it's like, there's no way that that filter lasts forever. You know, everything deteriorates. But here's the thing. It's a medical grade stainless steel mesh. That's billet aluminum. The only thing that is degradable or disposable is the O-ring. Yeah. And it's rubber, and that's it's going to last forever, honestly. And here's something else to consider about the life of these oil filters. I would estimate Kevin has about 100 to 200,000 miles on the single filter, on a single filter. And the way he achieved that is he would take it off one bike when he got rid of that bike and put it on the next bike. So since 2012, Kevin has ran the exact same filter across 3 or 4 bikes.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that's a testament to how long they last. I mean, it's going to outlast the bike. Hell, it's probably going to outlast you and me. You know, that filter will be on this earth longer than we will.
Yeah. I mean, if it's in use and in an oil bath, that ain't nothing to go wrong with it. I mean, it just isn't. So
we've already established these permanent oil filters, they filter more than adequately. You can get in the weeds and you can talk, but they filter more than good enough. So get that out of the way. But there's other benefits. Of course, we touched on the performance benefit. Less drag on oil pump means inevitably more power put to the road.
Yeah, anything that lets that engine spin freer, if it has to spend more energy pushing that oil, just leaves more on the table for the rear wheel. So
yeah, now it's a nominal gain, but there is a gain there. And there's no one thing in this world that's the end all be all to building Harley performance. You need this, you need that. It's a whole conglomeration. So the oil filter, you don't want your oil filter to be a weak link. Great job. Of course, it also dissipates heat better. Billet aluminum, going to dissipate that heat, going to net you a couple degrees. Nothing to write home about. It's not an oil cooler. But if you pair it with an oil filter relocation, it puts it out into the wind, dissipates heat even better. So there's always a benefit to lower oil temperature, you know, relatively speaking. And let's talk about something that I really like about it personally is the cost savings. If you go to Harley Davidson right now, and a lot of people, if you're going to do a disposable filter, my personal recommendation is the Harley Davidson branded filter. They bypass at the right PSI. They're made for that bike. If I'm going to put a disposable filter on a bike, it's a Harley Davidson. K&Ns are good. Frams are a never, but Harley Davidson is what most people are going to use. They're $25. They're $24 and some change.
That's crazy.
6 oil changes. You've paid for yourself. It's paid for itself after 6 oil changes. So yeah, it's $150, not cheap, but neither is 6 oil filters. You know what I mean? And then if you're like me, you never have a damn oil filter on hand. Yeah. So it's always beneficial to me to be able to just clean this one and reuse it instead of trying to run here and there or order this and wait around. So that brings me to my next point. How do you clean it?
Well, we did a video not long ago on that. We can link that up there, down there, or both. And but it's just simple. You know, you saw me take it apart a while ago. I mean, you pop it out, you clean it with some brake cleaner or soap and water. You dry it out, blow it off, get it dry, and then you assemble it. I mean, that's what you do.
Now, what a lot of people like to do, and you know, I don't do this, but Kevin has always done it this way, is they'll have a second filter on hand. So say, hey, this one's over here, it's drying. I don't want to wait on it to dry. I don't have a air compressor to blow it out. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this extra one I have in there, go about my business, keep this one for the next oil change. So that's a smart play right there. But man, they're very easy to clean out. Anything that's gonna dissolve oil, even dish soap, works well.
Yeah, just dish soap. I always have some brake cleaner laying around, so I usually just hit it with that. Brake cleaner dries quick, so it's just kind of a double whammy for me. Just hit it with some brake cleaner, blow any residue out of it, and then reassemble, and you're good to go. That's
right. I think we've touched on everything people want to know about these filters, but as always, if you have any questions at all about anything you've seen or anything we've said in this video, please leave us a comment below. We love comments.
So if you don't mind, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you know when the next video comes out. and y'all ride safe out there.